So I dropped a pretty big bombshell recently, just randomly announcing that I bought a Ford Mustang. That's pretty cool. I didn't really give much of an explanation on why, and it's a pretty long story. So I recorded an entire explanation like 2 months ago. I've had this car for like 5 months now, and I still haven't like put out any content with it. I might be going insane, or I'm just really stupid. Probably option 2, maybe option 1, but mostly option 2. And past Steven says it a lot more eloquently than future Steven will. So, yeah. You know what I haven't done in a really long time that I miss? A good old-fashioned flame transition, so hit that junk right now.
So I am filming this, just completely spur of the moment, at 9:15 at night, in an abandoned college. Nobody's here. Just thought I should put that on the recording for prosperity, I suppose. On the morning of Saturday, September 23rd, me, my dad, and 2 of my brothers drove to a nearby city to look at a car. It was kind of a funny thing because me and my dad had already seen the car in the past. So rewind back to mid-August, where I am in the midst of looking for a car, and my requirements were as follows. It has to be fun, it has to be somewhat practical. I would prefer it to be loud and obnoxious because I'm a teenager and that's how we do. And it had to be quick. It didn't have to be fast, it just had to be quick. So I was looking at a couple of different options for potentially good cars, and I put this actually in a special bonus feature for a video I did a while back with Horsepower Obsessed. But I was going to buy a 1986 Datsun 280ZX. That car was sick, and I am forever now going to have a soft spot in my heart for those cars. But that car had a ton of issues. The car was not in running and driving condition, so even though I was going to get it for an absolute steal of $700, I just couldn't justify it. So my final requirement was the car had to run and drive. With all of those things in mind, I started looking through potential lists, and of course, one of the main contenders was the Ford Mustang. A car that I've always admired, a car that has always had a special place in my heart, and I found one that was pretty close to what I was looking for. And the car was listed actually in the same city that I lived in. So I contacted the owner, I went down, and I remember going around to his garage and seeing that car for the first time, and it made an impression on me. And so I looked through and everything looked really good. However, the car had a transmission problem that was keeping it stuck in reverse. All the same, he started the car, he showed me that it ran and it did drive in reverse. So I took my dad out to see the car, and he ended up liking it, which was very surprising considering my father has almost never liked any of the things that I've showed him. So after some discussion, my dad and I decided that before we bought the car, we should have it looked over by an approved technician. And so we were going to try and get the car transported to our local mechanic. However, easier said than done because we didn't really have the resources to do so. And second off, of course, we decided to do this in an extremely busy time. I don't remember why it was so busy, but the mechanic just could not get us in for like a week, or like I think it was like a whole week. So I was like, okay, that's like a week. If the car sells, big whoop, I'll find another one. But I secretly was starting to hold out hope because this car seemed like a really good one. And I was trying really hard not to get attached, because if you're a young person and you're looking to buy a car and you haven't done it yet, try not to get attached to one specific car, because I've done it multiple times and it hurts. Like that Datsun, I really liked that car. I wanted that car. So when I eventually had to give in and say, okay, I cannot afford this car, that one hurt. So don't do it. It sucks. So I was trying not to get attached to the car, and sure enough, it sold. So I was like, well, that sucks. I really thought that was the one. And I went back to looking. And it wasn't even subconsciously, but I was looking for identical Ford Mustang, because that one just seemed like the perfect blend of everything that I wanted, in power, practicality, and just overall fun factor. And I found a couple, but I could never really like make it work. They were either far away from me, out of my price range. There was one seller who just was a jerk. That one left a lasting impression on me. And then all of a sudden, I run across this Mustang, and this Mustang looks familiar, like really familiar. And I realize, holy shoot, it is the same exact car that I was looking at before. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's the same car. I had to like double, triple check, but I was like, that's all the features that I remember seeing on the car when I looked at it. So I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, you remember that car? He was like, yeah. I was like, it's back for sale. And he was like, really? So after some discussion, we decided to go look at it. I messaged the seller. We set up a time to go look at it. And my dad was like, listen, I think we both like this car. This one seems like a really good fit. If it seems like this is the one, let's just bite the bullet. Let's do it. Let's buy this car. And I was like, this is why you are an amazing father. And I was so down. And I was so excited. So we had to drive about 40 minutes to see the car. And the seller told us an interesting story.
Okay, so basically here's what happened. I filmed the entire story, like I said, in the middle of the college that I attend, late at night, completely spur of the moment. And I had to pause recording because someone came in to talk to me, and I lost the other half of the recording. I cannot find it, which really sucks for me because I had the whole thing out perfectly, and the information was a lot fresher in my head at the time. So this sucks, but the show must go on. Sometimes in life, you just got to say, screw it, we ball, and you got to do a take two. So here we are again. Also, yes, this is my bedroom, and yes, that is a mountain bike behind me. I do not apologize for the mountain bike, neither to you or my parents. For some reason, they still love me though. So where I was in the story, we're going to look at the car. Me, my dad, my brother, going out, looking at the car, and when we get there, the guy's there, and he's telling us why the car is back on the market after only like a month or two. So dude was a mechanic, and he bought this car because he likes Mustangs. However, when he realized that the transmission was stuck in reverse, all he did was go to a junkyard, buy a really cheap transmission, slap that puppy in there, bada bing, bada boom, car runs and drives and moves. Simple fix, it works, you know? However, the transmission is a junkyard transmission. I have no idea how many miles were on that transmission. The synchros were going out of fifth, so you had the double clutch to go into fifth. That's fine. You don't need fifth anyway. That's just your overdrive. So we get there. He's telling us how he likes the car. It sounds great. He straight piped it. He did a bunch of work to it. He made sure the oil's changed and everything. Yada, yada, yada. Did a bunch of work to it. However, it rides really rough, and it's too loud for him because he told me that he blew out an eardrum. So he was like, I just can't live with this car. I've been daily driving it. I just can't live with it. So off it goes back on the market. And so I'm there like, great, this dude just did a bunch of work to the car, and he's not asking a lot more than the original seller was. So I gotta give Tommy a thank you here. You guys know Tommy. You love Tommy. I love Tommy. We all love Tommy. His Ranger is a manual, and I was not very good at driving manual. I called up Tommy the day before I went to go look at this Mustang, and I was like, Tommy, listen, I haven't driven manual in forever. I'm about to go test drive this Mustang. I need you to like give me a refresher course on how to drive manual, and dude did it. And so I went to test drive this Mustang with the knowledge of how to drive a stick decently. So I convinced the dude to let me take it for a test drive, and I convinced my dad as well because, you know, he was a little skeptic. I get in the car and it's raining, and the car is in this dude's front yard, so I'm desperately trying not to like spin the tires. I failed. I completely tore up this guy's front yard. But he was there, and he was pretty chill about it for some reason, and he was like, oh, it's fine, you're learning. So we take the car for a test drive, and it feels good. It does ride really rough, but I'm like, that's all right. So we get back to the house, right? I'm talking to my dad. I pull my dad aside, and we all kind of have the same consensus of, this is a good car. It's not a perfect car by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a good car, and thus we shall purchase it. End up going to a DMV, we purchase the car, we get a plate for it, yada yada yada, whole legal stuff, and I'm now tasked with driving this car 40 minutes back to my house, and somehow, by I guess the grace of God himself, I do it. I, again, have only started driving manual the day before, but somehow I got that Mustang home with minimal like grinding or like burning of clutch. So that's how I got a Mustang. So before this video ends, I have one final story that really just paints a picture of the character of this vehicle. Now this Mustang has a transmission called the Tremec T45. Ford did a weird thing where they kind of sort of overbuilt these transmissions, and they had a separate sliding pin that had the fifth and reverse gear selector on it. This gear selector is a little bit finicky, to say the least. So again, keep in mind, the reason that we didn't buy this car in the first place was because it was stuck in reverse. So day 2 of Mustang ownership, I have had this car for about 24 hours, less than 24 hours actually. I back it down the driveway on my way to, I'm pretty sure, show it off to my girlfriend, and the car gets stuck in reverse. I think it took me about a full day to get the car out of reverse, which was just stupid. And I have a theory that if the original seller of the Mustang had known the little trick that I figured out by going through all the Mustang forums that I went through, he probably could have fixed the transmission and he probably could have kept his Mustang. But he didn't look through Mustang forums. And that's why I have a Mustang now. And I've had this issue a couple more times. We'll get into that in the next video. So the next video on the Mustang, I'm going to start going over everything that I've done to the car. And it's a lot. So that's going to be a longer video, but that's okay. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you have the goodness in your heart to like and subscribe, I would quite appreciate it. And as always, this video is now over, so have a great rest of your day, everyone. And toodle pip. That took like 7 different takes. Alright, I'll see you guys.